Hey there, everybody. How are you? Welcome to SketchCraft Live. I'm Rob Duenas, and this is where Brandon and Mike and I are going to talk about Doctor Strange. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. Otherwise, wait till it comes to DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, HDR, Xbox One, Ultra, something or other. Or maybe just rip it off, put it on your phone, check it out. Come back, listen to us complain, totally fucking disagree with me, complain about it on the chat board. Matter of fact, I look forward to hearing your complaints. In the comments below, leave them. In the meantime, say hello, Brandon. Let Heavy James.
Hi.
Hey. All right. Also joining in is Magic Mike. Mike, are you there?
Under ruse.
Under Ruse, right? Wrong movie, but it's any chance to
Rob,
talk about underwear.
Rob does love the hate comments. He makes souffles out of them. He loves them.
Goes with my coffee. So, alrighty, everybody. Mike, you just saw the movie
And 2 hours ago.
about a couple minutes ago. Just
Yep.
rewound the time, right? And we're gonna go back, pretend like you just saw it. So, Brandon, you saw it last weekend, I suppose.
I saw it Friday night. Saturday night. Yeah,
Mhm,
so I saw it right after it came out.
Did you see it twice?
We were going to, but just haven't had time with all the craziness going on in the world and stuff. So
Yeah. All that new Nintendo Switch news.
Yep, that's it. That's it. That new powers to be. The new power.
And then you got
New
caught up with all
stuff.
the esports at BlizzCon. One thing led to another.
Yeah.
Didn't get to see it twice, and I did. I saw it in IMAX 3D. Brandon, did you see it in IMAX 3D?
Fuck yeah, I did. Best way to view it.
And Mike, how did you see it?
I went to iPic and I saw it not in IMAX nor in 3D, but I got my own recliner and I got beer and food while I saw it.
Wah, wah, wah.
Hey man, haters gonna hate.
Yep, and people see great movies in bad cinema theaters. It's fine.
I thought it was fun. The sound was great in there. So
Could you hear it over all the waiters and the beers and the food and everything?
you realize they show up like once every half an hour maybe.
For the movie?
I don't care.
Yeah, they
Every half
parse the
hour?
times out. Yeah.
Yeah, so
you're fine,
it's
man.
a two-hour
it's like perfect
movie.
timing.
All right,
So you
Brandon,
got
you're having a lot of fun. Good job. All right, so let's get on with it. Brandon, tell me what you liked and didn't like about the movie. Go.
everything. I loved everything. No, let's just start visually. It's the best visuals I've ever seen in a movie. It blew my mind when the city, in the first minute, the city's turning, the colors, everything's going on. I'm just like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. This is moving, beautiful art. The colors blew me away. I love the yellows, the reds, the popping colors. Visually, the movie could have been in like with no sound, and I would have loved it. The story was good. I think the only knock is it was pretty fast paced, so you don't have time to really like flesh out a lot of things. It's just like this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. So that maybe I would have liked a little slower pace at times. Maybe more of him being in agony over his hands or his relationship with the what was her name, Amy? Yeah, no, I can't remember the character, Rachel. Rachel. I think that's my only knock on it, but overall, I like the villains. I liked where it's gonna go in the next one. So I give the movie. You want my score out of it, or just what I liked?
Sure. Give me how many potatoes?
I give it 10 potatoes out of 10 potatoes. It's a full sack. It is a full sack.
You caught me off guard there, man.
All right, Mike, your turn.
On the pacing, I agreed because that was one of the notes that I put down was just the beginning 20 minutes, just how they developed him very, very quickly in the beginning. I would have just a little more of that. He could have been a little more badass because it was just so quick. It was like snapshots of like, oh, he's arrogant here. Oh, he's badass here. Oh, look, he can be an asshole. And then all of a sudden he's in Nepal. And then after that, I thought the pacing felt pretty even, pretty steady. I don't know how long the script is, but it felt like they hit, their points when they wanted to hit them. The only thing that I thought was strange. Like something didn't quite feel right. So I looked up the director because I was like, what, WWRD, what would Rob do? So I looked at the director and I was like, okay, something's got to be weird here. And it turns out the guy who directed it, Scott Derrickson, has only directed horror films in the last 15 years. So I thought that was a little interesting, and the fact that I noticed it, that it's still like written-wise, it felt definitely like a Marvel movie, but the direction felt off, and that's now that I see that the director directed only horror movies, that makes sense to me. Why they picked him, I'm not sure. It's not that he did a bad job. It just felt different than the other Marvel movies that I was used to. Aside from that, story was good. Visuals, I mean, it was just Inception meets Marvel, so nothing really changed there. But I thought it was a fantastic movie. I liked it. I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, I can answer your question, Mike. Rob would know who the director was before he went to see the film. Probably 2 years before. Rob would probably know who wrote it. John Spates. The director's Exorcism by Emily Rose. Perhaps some of the visual
Can I
effects.
name Mike's scoring system?
Mike's scoring system. Yeah, Mike. What is your scoring system?
How many undies do you give it?
How many underoos do I give it?
Yeah.
I'd give it a solid like 8 out of 10 underoos.
Full sack.
A full sack.
8 out of 10, you say?
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to see it in the hands of a different director, but that's my.
See, this is where I disagree, right? Like, I disagree about the hands of a different director. What I believe for myself was, it almost feels like he probably went and made something that was genuinely dark in spots, and was probably more like the Dark Crystal than say Iron Man. And I think then the studio goes in and adds more Iron Man into the film after the fact.
That makes sense.
You understand what I mean? Like, we got to make it more like Marvel. And I sort of feel like, I don't know at what point the audience as a whole goes, not enough. You know what I mean? I don't know how many films, because right now Marvel is like, they're basically on the Pixar track, right? Where every film they do is just going to do pretty well. At least now. I mean, it was really shaky in the beginning with like Iron Man 2, and, the Hulk. I remember seeing some concept art for this film where it was like an upside down black pyramid in the jungle and stuff like that, and I would have liked to see more of the scarier parts, honestly. But, man, like, I've thought about this 100 ways with the film. Overall, I don't disagree with anything you guys said. I mean, it's an origin story. They're jumping around. They're kind of trying to take you along a linear path from zero to hero. The ending battle was very clever. The visuals were really fun. Like, the bad guy motivations, you just try not to think about it too much. But especially the timeline, which I'll get into in a minute. But I think overall, like, we're in an interesting situation where we got these things called television now. You've heard of this, right?
The Magic Color Talking Box.
And the Magic Talking Box really kicking ass in terms of taking its time to world build in just one series. Like, I'm thinking a lot of people tend to like the Flash and the Arrow, right? These days, people more with the Flash and Supergirl than the Arrow. But overall, there's a big fan for those kinds of TV entertainment. That's network television. And something that Arrow started doing, and Flash to a lesser extent, was that someone would show up that was completely human, and then by the next season, they're a superhero. And everyone's like, man, if Green Arrow took 5 years of training on an island to become fucking a superhero, how are these people doing it in like 5 weeks in terms of the show timeline, right? And I think this movie, if they wanted to cram his origin in a linear fashion into the film, one of the things I think could have done to help move that along was really make very clear that the movie is set around the time of Iron Man 1. Like,
give it some flag.
Yeah,
posts for
so you
people to kind of guide by.
Right, which aren't necessary. You wouldn't need to know that to enjoy the film. But for the people connecting dots, it would really help. I'll say, hey, the character just get up, go somewhere, not age, and fucking become a super magician time lord, dude. He became.
In the towards the beginning, say something on a television behind him that has to do with Iron Man 1 or something like that, where you could kind of tie it in.
Right.
And then later on, kind of drop another Easter egg or two.
Or why they're fighting around doing something. It could be during a similar, like the alien event is when he's gone from the planet, right? The Avengers 1.
Yeah.
When they're in Hong Kong battling, that thing in Sokovia is going down or something. You know what I mean? Just time.
Yeah, there
setting
wasn't
up.
really any of that.
I mean, if you got a guy who's a master of time, it seems to me, and I don't want to go full Back to the Future 2 here, folks, right? I don't want to, which would be an interesting Doctor Strange movie where he's just running through the other films, like just right around the corner, So I'm just thinking that shows like, case in point, the Luke Cage or the Daredevil. Or hell, even Westworld, which is, sort of a comic booky kind of TV show. It takes its time. Game of Thrones, you got like so many hours, and movies obviously don't have that. So like either setting up guideposts, I think also to slowing down the tempo of the film. It's okay to slow it down a little bit. The kids don't have to always. Sometimes I felt like they were just inserting him telling a joke for no reason. It's not that he wouldn't tell a joke. It's like, really?
Right.
And some things people in that world just take for total granted. Like when he appears with his astral projection, it's me, it's my astral projection. She goes, what? We don't even know if she believes in religion. You know what I mean? We don't know that character's belief systems.
Yeah, she just took it, no problem too.
Well, I think too, though, when you live in a world where there's Iron Man and alien portals being opened up, I think it wouldn't be that much of a shocker.
But if you've never seen any of those films, how are you supposed to know you live in a world with Iron Man?
Well, you saw
but if you give guideposts and you understand what I'm saying, Brandon? Like they're assuming. Hold on, they're assuming you've seen the other films, while simultaneously acting as though maybe you haven't. By giving you the same formula that you kind of already watched before, only now it's kind of more sped up. It's kind of like the difference between Inception and The Dark Knight Rises. So Inception, they did this interesting thing called time compression. And they used it as an editorial technique and a storytelling technique. So editorially, things are slowing down and you're going through multiple areas, right? So things are running in real time, things are going slower, and they're jump cutting between the two things. But also story-wise, every time it slows down, you're in another level of consciousness. So time's moving more differently. So you're able to keep track of different levels. It's pretty interesting, and it's a way to jump cut around without making everyone confused. That was an interesting thing that worked in that film. In The Dark Knight Rises, they used that same technique to just magically fucking move the story along. Like Batman's in India, now he's in Gotham City. I don't know how. I don't know. He just came back. We just assume because he's Batman, and we know because he's Batman, he's all cool, right? So, is it detrimental to this? No, it's not. It's not like hurting the film, but this can start to become like, it reminds me of when an artist starts to shorthand their style a little too much. You understand what I mean, Brandon? Like when you got a person that's used to doing angular, like I draw angular, especially when I'm inking, traditionally with Copics. But if I started to just draw on pens and ditch the pencils, and I'd become more angular, and then it's just a fucking looks like a fucking bunch of triangles with legs running around the page. You've seen this before. Artists sort of go off the, and I don't feel they did it here because it's an enjoyable film with an enjoyable cast. But there are major logic gaps that you just got to be like, well,
So, were you trying to say though that they don't really set up to let you know that you're in the same world as Thor and Iron Man and stuff?
Other than the big Marvel logo in the front,
well, I mean.
Yeah, they weren't really tying it to anything else, not only in continuity, but in a timeline either.
You see that Avengers building, right?
Yes, and so that.
So we know that the movie starts after Avengers 1 somehow.
Right,
But is that enough time for a guy to go from how long did he spend after his hands got hurt? 6 months, a year?
Hey, long enough to grow a beard, man. That's all you need.
And look, man, that takes me like 4 days.
Right.
But
Yeah.
and it's not like they said when they went into the mirror dimension or wherever else they're at, in Kathmandu, that time is moving slower in that temple or anything. You know what I mean? Like, so they could still do it all like in one film. Like Harry Potter films generally go across an entire school year for the kids, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of a sorcery movie, right? You could say this is year one. Strange is at school kind of thing, And so what happens is in the film is you have this antagonist who steals this thing from a book, gets his followers, they escape. It's a cool sequence, and then does nothing for how many months?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Just
If
absolutely
time
nothing.
is his enemy, why is he waiting? How long did Strange?
Right. They should have had. In that meantime, they should have had him attacking things or going after other
or
stuff.
she could be gone and Mordo's training him half the time, or perhaps that guy doesn't steal that shit until the beginning of the end of the second act. Do you understand what I mean?
But
Or
it's so
after
much,
Strange
it's so much
finds
cooler
him.
in the opening sequence.
I hear you, but that could have just been someone who did something and she solved the problem, or that could have been dealing with Mordo's origins because she goes, he's had his issues, and it's like, well,
Right.
that's a character that doesn't
Or
show
even
up.
Or even say after that happens, 6 months earlier. Or
No, don't do 6 months or 1 year later. That
Why can't we just start our stories where they begin?
Well, this has to be exactly what
That was a Rick and Morty reference.
I know, but this is what look, man, I write, so I understand it's very difficult. It's easy to sit back after a movie's made and say, I think they should have fucking done this. It's like, well, you have a time limit. There's only so much time you have. You got to make a decision. They made a decision. They shot. We know they did reshoots. They sort of tweaked it, and it's worked. It's a financially successful film. It's a fun movie to watch. I think perhaps us as the elites, right? We are if anyone right here, the 6 people that are watching this shit live, we're elites. You're sticking around for this fucking conversation. None of my normal, real friends will deal with me talking about this for one fucking minute. I got a friend who grew up in the 60s reading Doctor Strange. His favorite character. He won't let me talk about this more than 3 minutes before he's like, all right, man, that was a good movie. I don't want to talk about it. So we're like the hardcores. We're like, connoisseur beer. You're like, I can taste the hops and the cinnamon. And the fucking,
The
you're
water's
like,
really good on this one.
you're right, yeah, like the cigar people and Rounders. You know what I'm talking about when he's
Hell yeah.
the chamomile, the oil. Like we're like, the score was delicious at the 11:02 mark. And the sequence in which they inverted time, and you could tell they were on a gurney, and that was a physical location. Like, okay, all right, I get it. But at some point, these movies, and this is sort of like not so much pertain to this particular film, but overall, I'm going to consider Marvel's going to keep making films, right? So when we go see a Marvel movie, we're seeing an MCU more than just a Doctor Strange or Iron Man, right? We're seeing a Marvel Universe film. At what point do they have to sort of address, the storytelling conventions of television in which you can cover those distances in a slower amount of time that feels more, natural in a way, like even if it's even possible. Like I was thinking to myself, what if during the previews of this film, did you guys have to sit through an hour-long thing with Maria Menounos talking to you about shit you don't want to watch, like
No.
like the Civil War, with Jeff Bridges and Emilio Estevez, shit like that. They make you watch this shit, like before the movie starts. I was like, oh, is there a way
they only do 15 minutes of anything.
is there a way they could do a short primer? I don't know, some short web series before the movie even starts. That would, I don't know, like something.
That'd be legit.
Do you think, you're talking about time-wise and the world and stuff. I think maybe a cool idea to just incorporate someone else in the movie. Maybe when he's trying to hit up everybody to get his hands fixed, if he maybe hit up Stark Industry for some form of robotics or nanotech.
Here's the problem with that, right? Is one that kind of makes the universe smaller.
Is that what you
like
want?
out of all the billions of people in the world, one of the most Elon Musk is gonna. Look, there's some surgeons right now that are world famous. You think Elon Musk is picking up the phone talk to. You know what I mean? You can't just assume that they're all buddies. You know,
Well,
like
not buddies, but he has money and he's trying to hit up the wealthiest, best.
he spent money on like a fancy car. It doesn't mean he has money, and there's a big difference
Well,
between.
she made a point of saying you spend your money as fast as you made it, and now you're spending money you don't even have.
But that is also a problem, right? Where she's just saying that so they can say they addressed it, but we're not really showing it. You know, we see
right.
he has money. We're not
I'll
seeing
say
this.
it in a form of a question. Rob, how would you have connected Doctor Strange to other Marvel characters if you would
I
have?
already told you what I would have just set up the universe as a tentpole for the timeline. You know, like this is like a Batman Begins style origin story where he goes off into the east, and then, you know, imagine if like that happened, and then you see like while he's training and doing various things, the world is changing. Like the alien Superman arrived and the fucking Zod thing, you know, and then he comes back. Like just there's things you can do around. I'm not gonna
So
say like a montage, but there's
maybe looking out that window, he sees the
Yeah, there's no mile markers.
Iron
They didn't
Man
give us
flying around.
any.
yeah, just they need a couple mile markers, and then the way they ended it's fine. You know, like in terms of the post credit scene, so then you know where it's at the end of the film in terms of the timeline. You know.
Sort of.
I just sort of felt like I wanted to. I sort of felt he kind of should have been training longer. You know, like it's just instant superhero status. It's not like he was imbued with the powers of Spider-Man, and now fucking you can kick a door in. You know, it's like he had to go learn all this shit, and so he's
And they
super
only
smart.
referenced once that he was adept at it.
I mean, just imagine. I was thinking to myself, think about it like this. Imagine if you took the hero's journey of Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, and you know, all the way from the Death Star, from learning about the bits of the Force, and then finding Yoda, to confronting Vader, to training and building his own thing, and then confronting Vader again. Imagine if you took that entire arc and shoved it into the very first film.
Yeah, wow.
Do you understand? That's what they've done. You know,
Yeah, and that's what it felt like too.
You know, all because they probably have to get him ready so he's in Affinity War or something, or that they can feel like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't tell you why they did it. You know, and at some point, it's going to work negatively. You know, in terms of reception. You know, and people go win. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like from Spider-Man 3 to Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like a 10-year period. So maybe 10 years from now. So I guess whatever. I mean, for me, for my enjoyment of the film, it becomes more of a popcorn film when you just sort of go, well, you know, when I feel like the character arcs in Goonies are more fleshed out than the superhero films, I don't know, guys. You know, the Fratellis, right? They took their time. You saw how they escaped. You know how they evaded the police, and then they're hiding now, and then we go to the kids, and then they're set up, and they go on this adventure, and then they meet up with the Fratellis, and then you got the conflict, and then they're on the run from the Fratellis, and we know the Fratellis can make it through shit because they have already did some crazy shit. You understand what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That is like a superhero template, and when I say superhero, I really just feel Marvel is continuing the legacy that Lucas and Spielberg sort of set up in the late '70s, early '80s. You know, only that they're all connected now, like those sense of adventure films. And instead of little kids saving the world, now it's middle-aged dudes and dudettes and alien squirrels and shit. So, and they're connected all together, which is enjoyable, and we all come to like that. But I feel like the character arcs need to slow down a bit, like is it Moto? More, I don't know the fucking characters, man. A Chiwetel Ejiofor, fucking Serenity
Which
dude.
guy? Oh yeah, Mordo.
Mordo. So Mordo, that whole thing with him could have been the end of the second film when they get to it.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to just keep pushing things like villain of the week. Like I want legitimate, friends that are friends and then don't be friends at one point. And did it make more sense in this film than say Green Lantern? Absolutely. But
Well, they need more villains in that universe, so they need to.
they don't need more villains. They need people who make bad decisions and then have to deal with the consequences of those decisions.
Yeah,
and
but
a
that's just
villain
like
can be the
Civil War.
consequence of those decisions. That's Civil War. It's every fucking
And
film,
that's,
Brandon.
and that's the one before. I mean,
Civil
well, no,
War-
I'm saying in their world, like Iron Man has been the one who just keeps making bad decisions, and they end up having a movie around it.
Yeah, but
I
for
mean,
Moto just to go bad at the very end of the post-credit sequence because
well, no,
he does because
after he finds out
his
about the
mentor kind of siphoned off some of the dark side here and there, and she lied to me. Like
Yeah, that was like you could see that he was going to be a villain like halfway through the second he started, realizing that he's not just a puppet.
what I really
Oh,
would
gee.
like is like a friendship that it's like it's what I wanted like from Obi-Wan and Anakin, where they were supposed to have a friendship, and at some point they develop conflicting, you know, uh, conflicting inner psyches, conflicting character, points of view that force
Yeah.
them to naturally clash with one another versus just turning evil, Brandon. Turning evil's when they say, it's like when they say something like that's like a comic book. When they mean like that's like a comic book, it's not that comic books are bad or stupid. There's really great ones. But there's a difference between the page count that it took to tell The Dark Knight Returns and the page count you get in like 2 issues of a comic book, or 1 issue of a comic book. Like even now when you like in comic books, so like it's that shorthand that comics do just to be like dun dun dun, like oh my god, I'll be back, hand through the floor, like they mentioned he might come back, so they covered their bases. They covered their bases. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just what I'm trying to tell you is it's not enough just to be like, well, they have to have a villain.
I'm not. I understand what you're saying. I'm just defending it. I'm just.
It's
playing
like I
devil's
felt about
advocate here.
Ultron. I don't think Ultron should have been created in Avengers 2. Ultron should have been the very first version of it should have started in Iron Man 3, which is the new whatever that was, phase 2, phase 3, phase 2, I can't fucking remember. And then carried its way through to its completion in Avengers 2. But they throw in another origin story for a villain plus the origin story for 2 new characters, and it starts to be this giant fucking the reason why Civil War works is because it's continuing off the basis of Avengers 2. And you're like, oh, man, that makes more sense because this world would be kind of fucked up, and they did do some. Oh, that's right, So I'm just saying, like, if Harry Potter got 7 movies to become the chosen one, give this guy at least fucking. You know what I mean? Like, he goes from Dick Surgeon to Dick Homeless Guy to Dick Sorcerer Supreme, and it's like, all right, like I like him by the end of the movie, but it's just like you could just the learning curve can be slowed down. I mean, what they know they're making more films,
Yeah, or at least give us visual aids or something to show us that it's taking longer than we're seeing.
Shit, give us 30 more minutes because it didn't seem to hurt the fucking time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was 2 hours and 13 minutes anyways,
Right.
and it was still fast.
so.
And then
but,
you got like an insto bad guy for barely a reason.
but dude, I mean, I think for myself, I like to rate things on a 5 point. I'd say it's a solid 4. If I was a little kid, I'd be like, holy shit.
If you were a little kid,
Wait, 4 out of what?
4 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
as an elite, like hardcore comic dude, you know what I mean, who gets really into like story, I'm like, man, if these things would be masterpieces if they took their time,
Yeah.
Like imagine if a guy turned into the Joker at the very end of Batman Begins. Not that like you hear there's a guy running around like a clown. That I don't know, fucking Liam Neeson turned into the Joker at the end of Batman.
Right.
And he'd be like, well, I mean, he did almost kill him, so he would be mad. He'd be like a clown now. Like, all right,
I did like just speaking of pacing stuff. I did like when the Ancient One and him kind of just stop and time slows down, and they just had that kind of moment where it's like it was just a good moment. Like anybody would be in that moment where it's like, okay, she knows she's gonna die, and it's just she's enjoying the moment. I don't know. It was just really cool that actually slowed it down, and you actually learned just a little more about her, where she's just like, she knew all this was coming, but she still did what she had to do. So I thought that was cool. But
Well, there's a rule in books, Brandon. It's like your character can have a backstory, but like describe 10% of it. At any given time, like.
right.
So you cut out, 80, 90% of his filler backstory. started off in him searching for this temple, and then you could actually rewind because since he's the master of time, you could find a clever editing way to sort of show what happened to him. Um, and then yeah, you can add a bit more of those. Like that moment where they're sitting there and the time slows down reminds me of like my favorite scene in Batman Begins is when him and Liam Neeson, Ra's al Ghul or whatever, are sitting at the fire just having a conversation.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that scene as well.
Yeah, like, and you're just like without those moments, like him and Mordo didn't really have time to have a moment like that. Like they're not like friends, so now they're gonna be enemies, frenemies, or whatever. So I don't know, man, dude. It's very nitpicky. But the inserted humor gag sometimes.
It was a little Iron Man quippy.
This film pushes a little too
awesome.
much.
It was awesome. The cape absolutely killed it.
The cape was
filled up
dope.
that entire theater with laughter when he threw the cape on and like popped the collar.
Would have been nice to see him do that while he was preparing for that speech, and then the chick or something like puts his collar down or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things like that, or a person, or I don't know. It's so nitpicky. The fact that they got here's what I'm gonna say. Here's why it definitely gets a 4. People they complain or they agree or disagree. Here's why it gets a 4. Because you got a movie that describes multiple dimensions, a guy who can master time. You know what I mean? Like they show worlds that are folding in and out themselves like fractals or having battles. They're fucking trying to actually make you care about characters and shit. He's got a cape that doesn't talk. He's got like a magic carpet, that fights and shit, and then the villain even has like a fucking decent, through line and visually it's spectacular. Meanwhile, DC's like, we got the Joker and we kind of got him figured out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we got that clown.
We're gonna give Jared Leto a grill and a knife.
Yeah, tattoos.
Make his hair green.
You know what this movie
tattoos,
needed?
Yeah.
It needed more tattoos. Like,
Yeah.
he needed to.
And a Lamborghini.
It had a Lamborghini.
Yeah, he had a chrome Lamborghini, didn't he?
I don't know what
Or
car he had, but he had a fast car.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Doctor Strange had a Lamborghini, so he had.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, so
they both had Lamborghinis.
Your analogy
Here's my question
doesn't
for you
work.
guys. Here's my question for you guys. So, Thor has magic. Doctor Strange has magic. Scarlet Witch has magic. Obviously, Doctor Strange is extremely powerful. What do you think this is going to bring to the MCU movie-wise? Because we've got a little bit of magic through Scarlet Witch and what Thor has, Rainbow Road and shit. But this is a whole new element compared to everything else that we've seen.
I don't know. I mean, it's just going to bring another Thor movie.
Thanos? It's going to bring Thanos?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, but this...
No, I get it. Are you saying... I don't think it'll change much of anything. I mean, because the only magic they've seen, like that whole world, is Scarlet Witch, where she drops, she levitates the shit and they blow up and they're like, hey, you guys got to sign the Accords. What's all this shit? No one really knows about Doctor Strange, so that aspect of magic doesn't come into play.
Thor does.
Yeah, but Thor, they don't show the world, the rest of the world, the magic. I mean, most people don't even know he's a god. He just looks like a guy with a hammer, the blonde guy with a hammer, the sexy guy, that all the chicks are all like when they describe him. But I mean, it doesn't. The only thing that changes is between those characters, where they're just how are they using the Infinity Stones and how are they using their magic.
Yeah, that's all it does. Is set up like the location of the stones. One of them's 2 of them are with the Collector, right? One of them's in Vision. One of them's with
who's got
Doctor
one?
Strange.
Who? I called him Who. That's funny.
Who's
Doctor
got
Strange has one. Yeah, who's got one? Strange has one. Yeah,
2,
Vision,
4,
Collector. There's
4.
6.
Who is the
There's 6
fifth one?
total.
There's 5, isn't there? 2, 4, 5, 6. There's 6. Yeah.
Oh, the
Guys, here's my
Guardians.
relationship to the Infinity Stones. Marvel superheroes Capcom fighting game. That's it. All right. That's how I just did not care about Marvel Comics unless Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, and Eric Larson were drawing things. in the 90s, you know, and then Joe Mad. And then when Joe Mad left, sometimes Chris Pachalo, that he was dope, and that was it. Like when it came to Infinity Stones, it's Marvel's Capcom's fighting game that I know. If there's even the gems, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, the fucking stones. So, uh, I wonder at what point are they just gonna save? It'll be interesting to see how they inform everyone about the stones, so everyone, the audience knows, right? So that'll be
Once
interesting.
the sixth stone gets revealed, and then everything goes
Well, will the
crazy.
movie start off like one, two, you know, three,
Yeah.
you know, like was it? Who knows? Who knows how they're gonna do it? So, but it was fun,
What's
man. It's a fun movie, you know.
I think the only problem is with him being able to turn back time, and I mean I know he won't do it every time because there's ramifications and shit. It just I don't like that someone has the power to just rewind, rewind, rewind. I hope they don't ever use that again in a movie. Maybe like I'm sure Rachel will die and he rewinds time or something to save her or some shit like that, like Mordo has her or something. But I just
See, here's another thing with the time thing. There's a way to shoot that or to edit it. No, I'm not gonna say in a way to make it darker, but I felt like it could have started off clever like it did. It could have really gotten into a point where he's really suffering. You know, here's a guy who
right,
doesn't want to take a hit for anything, let alone for his career. And to the point, like, and I'd say in terms of drama, it doesn't have to be any more than like the opening to the Star Trek movie where Kirk's dad died. You know, like you kind of know he's really making a sacrifice. Like he's
right.
really just getting the shit kicked out of him
So you
like a
think maybe like if
thousand
his
times.
nose started bleeding or blood
No,
coming out
no.
of his
Well,
ears?
I mean, he's getting obliterated like a thousand times, but there could be, you could see like it's wearing on him, whether he shows that to Dormammu or not. You know,
Right,
like just the sheer brutality. It's like in a Rocky movie where you just like, oh no, it's one too
right.
many
The dude
hits.
just getting pummeled and pummeled and keeps
one
getting
too
up.
many, one too many hits. Like this like
Or
make him
like Captain
stop.
America getting his ass beat by Iron Man, or vice versa. And
Yeah,
he's
at some
like,
point you're just
I
like,
can
well,
do this all day.
just I know there's a movie I'm thinking of where you're just
Yeah,
like
that was a
this,
nice callback, though. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that went all the way back to the very first movie.
yeah,
So
that's a great
yes.
callback actually.
Yeah.
So Brandon has weird tastes in films.
So the only one we have left is the Soul Stone, which is we don't have any information on that. That's going to be in a different movie. All the other ones are just
That'd be
in.
nice. That'd be nice if that was like an Iron Fist or something. Like give one to the Netflix crew.
I don't want the Netflix crew involved. I just don't.
Oh, what's gonna happen?
I don't think it
Maybe
will at all, Brandon. I think you're
DC
I think you're
DC's not doing it at all.
That's not DC. I think you're 1,000% wrong
No, I
on
know.
that.
I'm saying DC's not doing it. The Arrow's not going over. Flash isn't going over. They're not using any of the DC TV actors for any of the DC movies.
Yeah, but those guys aren't in the same universe as the movies. Like
The Netflix shows are super brutal and violent, bro. Like it's not even gonna work. They're about
I'm
street
talking
level
about the
crime.
characters. I'm just talking about
And I'm
bringing.
telling you that those characters aren't going to appear in the films, man. Like, if they do, it'd be like when a comet goes to crash into fucking New York and it just goes right over Daredevil's head. Like shit like that.
Me and you are gonna have to make a. I'll put a bet on it that one of those characters end up in a Marvel movie where it's Luke Cage shows up or Jessica Jones. One of them.
What, you mean
Are
like
gonna,
forever? Like.
no, I mean they'll be in the movie in some form, whether it's fighting against a villain
in
or
this
helping
next
out the
phase?
heroes.
In this next, by Infinity War? I'll take that bet.
I gotta look at the calendar to see
Hmm.
what Infinity War lines up with, but I guess is Infinity War the next Avengers movie?
Yes.
And so you got Black Panther, Thor, Spider-Man, and then you're saying the Infinity War movie, I think comes out.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2, May 5th, 2017. Thor, July 2017. Black Panther,
I'm
November
telling you,
2017.
Brandon, not gonna happen. You're gonna owe me.
Avengers, May
You
4th,
can-
2018.
Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I
You need
shouldn't
to
bet
stop.
that.
Like, first off, you got to know who runs the Marvel shows, and it's Perlmutter who runs Marvel Comics, and him and Feige don't even get along. It's a whole fucking thing, man. So the Iron Fist stuff's going to be tied into whatever they're doing with Elektra and all that shit. It's got nothing to do with this, and it won't. Like I said, if it happens, it won't be anything beyond the comet's going over their head in a shot where like Luke Cage looks up, you know, and like
Right.
that's it. It's not. It's not gonna happen, man. So
Fair
nor do I
enough.
want it to, man. Like, look, here's my thing, right? I've said this 100 times before. I don't really care to see Batman fighting Darkseid or parademons. I don't give a shit about Batman fighting aliens. I want to see Batman fighting street level crime. You know?
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy. That's what Batman's for. Now, I can't control this, so he's going to have to fight aliens in the Justice League movie. So if you're going to put something like a Bruce Wayne's negative Earth 2 zone Batman, it needs to be in a Justice League film where cosmic weird shit happens that I don't give a fuck about. But in Batman films proper, he needs to just be in a car patrolling the streets, Daredevil, Luke Cage, fucking Elektra style. You know what I mean? Like gritty, street level shit. You know, like small stuff, big stuff, small stuff, big stuff. So I don't want to see like Luke Cage having to figure out what the fuck a Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? I don't think he'd care. I think he'd be more interested like in what's happening to the normal person down the street. You know, like so
Right.
it's like Ninja Turtles. I like street level shit. When turtles start fighting aliens from other dimensions, it makes for a great comic. For a movie, it can get fucking weird. You know, like they're ninjas. So unless they get trapped in another dimension, have to work their way out. That's one thing. But when they start growing back and forth, like it's just regular part of the universe, it dilutes the tone, man. So
All right, I got a question for both of you. Deadpool's on one channel, Doctor Strange is on the other channel. Which one do you watch?
Deadpool,
Deadpool.
and it's not because I'm a Deadpool fan. You know, so
Could you rewatch? All right, Doctor Strange. Could you rewatch that multiple times? Can you put it on the background?
yeah,
Is it one you while you're working?
yeah. While
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
working, no, I'd like to watch it in 3D. Not while I'm working. I
I
like
don't know if I can
lyrical.
watch that in 3D, man.
I like lyrical films. The films I listen to, like when I'm working, need to have like a strong score, and like Shawshank, has narration, score, rounders.
See, I like scores like Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor or not Doctor
It's not a
Strange,
score.
sorry,
It's like a
Deadpool.
playlist. Like
Right. Well, I'm saying like the sound. Like I like hearing like Deadpool. Like there's a mixture of music, but also I like the I like Junkies stuff.
Yeah, but
And that
it's Deadpool's humor's too random. I mean, I don't, Brandon. This is why you have a hard time focusing because you're like, oh god, all over, like when I'm drawn, man. Like I like something that's focused and like methodical, and I just stick to it. You know, I can't have quippy, fucking jokey things that are tied into action and crazy shit going on the screen while I'm
but I
drawing.
I zone out the talking. I just listen to well, I mean, usually I have my headphones on and music, but
I
you
know
know,
you
whatever.
got a lot going on. You're a multitasker. I'm a
Yet
simple
nothing
guy,
get-
Brandon.
Yet nothing gets done.
I am a simple man. I cannot handle such extremities in my movies and
Fair
drawing.
enough.
I just try to focus on the art. So, anyhow, overall, fun movie. It's really nice to see Marvel continue to fucking kick ass. I still have great hopes for DC. I just think that I really hope the movie industry is more like politics behind the scenes than politics as we see them. Like I hope
Right.
these guys are on a plane going, "Hey man, so how did you work out that raccoon shit?" And the Marvel guys like, "Well, man, look, dude, you got dope characters. Batman's fucking awesome. You know what I would do? No. Oh yeah, he would smart. This guy's smart. Get him a drink. Like." you know versus fucking the ultra competitiveness. We are not going to do it their way, but secretly we're going to kind of do it what they were doing, but just not
Yeah.
really. Just
I
make
agree too. I mean, I'd love to see DC succeed. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we can nitpick these things all day and talk about what we like and what we don't like.
This was worth your money, right? Everybody, we all agree, worth your money, Brandon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just want
I
to
mean, if
see,
you're
I
gonna-
wanna see these characters on screen.
Yeah, I really
Get to see
want
stuff I've been waiting to see since I was a kid.
and I can't believe I'm looking forward to a fucking Thor movie. Like, they get me every time with the Thor. I'm like, I don't care. And then I'm like, I gotta go see it. I'm like, but no, Natalie Portman. It's definitely making me excited. It's got the Hulk. Can't wait. So, all right, everybody. Anything else you want to add, Brandon? Anything we forgotten?
No, if you haven't seen it, please go see it in IMAX 3D and enjoy the hell out of it.
Mike.
Yeah, definitely. Go see it. It is absolutely worth any price, especially for IMAX 3D, because I know they charge extra for that.
Yeah,
Go,
it
it's
sucks.
totally worth it.
Yeah, totally agreed. And we won't be doing another one of these until Rogue One, I think. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably Rogue One. Yeah. So I will see you all very soon. I took the day off to kind of work on art development, given world events. Just need a break off the internet. Internet's going kind of crazy. Apparently, apparently, I just being this color of my skin is fucking up the whole world, according to the internet. I just can't deal with craziness right now. So I am playing Dragon Quest and coloring and sketching and getting stuff set up. We will be back on later for more art. One Punch Man. We got more Batman shit to get taken care of. That's Monday. I gotta start Final Fantasy VII Inks, so I'm a little behind on that. So we will be back on shortly with that. Talk to you later. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys.